Genesis 37. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. These are the family records of Jacob. At 17 years of age, Joseph tended sheep with his brother. A young man was working with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought a bad report about them to their father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than his own sons, because Joseph was a son born to him in his old age, and he made a long-sleeved robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not bring themselves to speak peaceably to him. Then Joseph had a dream. When he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. There we were bringing sheaves of grain in the field. Suddenly my sheaves stood up, and your sheaves gathered around it and bowed down to my sheaf. And you really going to reign over us?" His brothers asked him, "Are you really going to rule us?" So they hated him even more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he had another dream and told it to his brothers. "Look," he said, "I had another dream, and this time the sun, moon, and even stars were bowing down to me." He told his father and brothers, and his father rebuked him. "What kind of dream is this that you have had?" he said. Am I and your mother and your brothers really going to come and bow down to the ground before you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. His brothers had gone to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem. Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers and you are pasturing the flock at Shechem. Get ready, I'm sending you to them." "I'm ready," Joseph replied. Then Israel said to him, "Go and see how your brothers and the flock are doing, and bring the word back to me." So he sent him from the Hebron valley, and he went to Shechem. A man found him there, wandering in the field, and asking him, "What are you looking for?" "I'm looking for my brothers," Joseph replied. "Can you tell me where they are pasturing the flocks?" "They've moved on from here," the man said. "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph set out after his brothers and found them at Dothan. They saw him in the distance, and before he had reached them, they plotted to kill him. they said to one another, "Oh look, here comes the dream expert. So come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of the pits. We can say a vicious animal ate him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." When Rehoboam heard this, he tried to save him from them. He said, "Let's not take his life." Reuben also said to them, "Don't shed blood. Throw him into this pit in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him." Intending to rescue him from them and return him to his father. When Joseph and his brothers, they stripped off Joseph's robe, the long-sleeved robe that he had on. Then they took him and threw him into the pit. The pit was empty, without water. They sat down to eat a meal, and when they looked up, there was a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Galilee. Their camels were carrying aromatic gum, balsam, and resin, going down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What do we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come on, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay a hand on him, for he is our brother, our own flesh." And his brothers agreed. When Midian's traders passed by, his brother pulled Joshua out of the pit and sold him for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took Joseph to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the pit, he saw that Joseph was not there. He tore his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, "The boy is gone. What am I going to do?" So they took Joseph's robe, slaughtered a male goat, and dipped the robe in its blood. They sent the long-sleeved robe to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it. It's your son's robe or not?" His father recognized it. "It is my son's robe," he said. A vicious animal has devoured him." Joseph had been torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put sackcloth around his waist, and mourned for his son. Many days all of his sons and daughters tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will go down to show to my son mourning," and his fathers wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard.
Genesis 38. At that time, Judah left his brothers and settled near an Adullamite named Hira. There, Judah saw the daughter of a Canaanite named Suah. He took her as his wife and slept with her. She conceived and gave birth to a son, and he named him Er. She conceived again and gave birth to a son and named him Onan. She gave birth to another son and named him Zelah. It was at Zezib that she gave birth to him. Judah got a wife to Er, his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. Now Er, Judah's firstborn, was evil in the Lord's sight, and the Lord put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, "Sleep with your brother's wife. Perform your duty as her brother-in-law and produce offspring for your brother." But Onan knew that the offspring would not be his. So whenever he slept with his brother's wife, he released his semen on the ground so that he would not produce offspring for his brother. What he did was evil in the Lord's sight, so he put him to death also. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Remain a widow in your father's house until my son Zelah grows up." For he thought he might die too, like his brothers. So Tamar went to live in her father's house. After a long time, Judah's wife, the daughter of Suah, died. When Judah had finished mourning, he and his friend Iha and the Adulamite went up to Timnah to his sheep shearers. Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear the sheep." So she took her widow's clothes, veiled her face, covered herself, and sat at the entrance of Enaim, which is on the way of Timnah. For she saw that Zelah had grown up. She had not been given to him as a wife. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute, for she had covered her face. He went over to her and said, "Come, let me sleep with you," for he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. She said, "What will you give me for sleeping with me?" "I will send you a young goat from my flock," he replied. But she said, "Only if you leave something with me until you send it." "What should I give you?" he asked. She answered, "Your signet ring, your cord, and the staff in your hand." So he gave them to her and slept with her, and she became pregnant by him. She got up and left, then removed her veil and put on her widow's clothes back on. When Judah sent the young goat by his friend the Adulamite in order to get back the items he had left with the woman, he could not find her. He asked the man of the place, "Where is the coat prostitute who was beside the road of Enaim?" "There has been no coat prostitute here," they answered. So the Adulamite returned to Judah, saying, "I couldn't find her, and besides, the man of the place said there has been no coat prostitute here." Judah replied, "Let her keep the items for herself, otherwise we will become livestock. After all, I did send this young goat, but you couldn't find her. About 3 months later, Judah was told, your daughter-in-law Tamar has been acting like a prostitute and now she is pregnant. Bring her out, Judah said, and let her be burned to death. As she was being brought out, she sent her father-in-law this message. I am pregnant by the man to whom these items belong. And she added, examine them then. Whose signet ring, cord, and sheath are these? Judah recognized them and said, she is more in the right than I, since I did not give her to my son Zelah, and she did not know her, and he did not know her intimately again. When the time came for her to give birth, they were twins in her womb. As she was giving birth, one of them pulled out his hand, and the midwife took it and tied a scarlet thread around it, and announcing, this one came out first. But then he pulled his hand back. Out came his brother. And she said, what a breakout you have made yours for yourself. So he was named Perez. Then his brother, who had the scarlet thread tied to his hand, came out, and he was named Zerah.
Genesis chapter 39. Now Joseph had been taken to Egypt. An Egyptian named Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, and the captain of the guards, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man serving in the household of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord made everything he did successful, Joseph found favor with his master and became his personal attendant. Potiphar also put him in charge of his household and placed all that he owned under his authority. From the time that he put him in the charge of his household and all that he owned, the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house because of Joseph. The Lord's blessing was on all that he owned, in his house and in his fields. He left all that he owned under Joseph's authority. He did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome. After some time, his master's wife looked longingly at Joseph and said, sleep with me. But he refused. Look, he said to his master's wife, with me here my master does not concern himself with anything in this house, and he has put all that he owns under my authority. No one in this house is greater than I am. He has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. So how could I do this immense evil, and how could I sin against God? Although she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her. Now one day he went into the house to do work, and none of his household servants were there. She grabbed him by the garment and said, sleep with me. But leaving his garment in her hand, she escaped and ran outside. When she saw that he had left his garment with her and had run outside, she called her household servant. Look, she said to them, my husband brought a Hebrew man to make fools of us. He came to me so he could sleep with me, and I screamed as loud as I could. When he heard me screaming for help, he left his garment beside and ran outside. She put Joseph's garment beside her until his master came home. Then she told him the same story, the Hebrew slave you brought to come to us to make a fool of me. But when I screamed for help, he left his garment beside me and ran outside. When his master heard this story, his wife told him, these are the things your slave did to me. He was furious and had him thrown into prison, where the king's prisoners were confined. So Joseph was there in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and extended kindness to him. He granted him favor with the prison warden. The warden put all the prisoners who were in the prison under Joseph's authority, and he was responsible for everything that was done there. The warden did not bother with anything under Joseph's authority, because the Lord was with him, and the Lord made everything that he did successful.